Welcome everybody, my name is Jeff St. Laurent and this is the Tuesday live show, and if you're watching this live, Happy New Year. This is the first live show of the brand new year, so welcome everybody. Today's topic is getting yourself fit for this new year, and it's not actually fit in terms of fitness wise, although there'll be a piece of that in today's show. But it's how do you get yourself fit for business this year so you can actually create results, meaning how can you actually get paid? And so this isn't specifically about the specifics on doing the business, but it's about more of some of the skill sets, things that's required of you to get yourself in the game to get those results that are going to help facilitate those results. Before we get going on that, I record all of my live shows. I put them in my university at sellingcoaching.com, so check that out. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. I've got a lot of great resources on there, and if you check out my university, use the search bar. You can get a lot of great information. Just type in some keywords. If you want to start off with a great resource at sellingcoaching.com, right on the homepage, you can enter your name and email. That's not only going to allow you to get my audio resource, it's called Launching Your Full-Time Coaching Business, the first 3 vital steps, but it's also going to put you in my email community, and that's going to allow you to interact with me, get some information from me on a weekly basis, and stay up to date on what I'm doing and how I can help you moving forward as you transform and translate to a full-time business for yourself. With that being said, let's talk about this as we're going into a new year. And this really doesn't, you could be watching this show at any point, any day within the year, right? It always doesn't have to be a new year, so to speak. But with that being said, there are certain things that are required of us to be successful in this business. And that's what I want to kind of address today. And so you can start to understand what's necessary. And I would say these are mostly skill set based. But there are some other logistical things out there that need to happen to get yourself, if you will, fit for this business. And of course I use fit for this business. I've come from the fitness industry in the past before, and my life previous to becoming a coach. And so I liken and relate a lot of things to fitness because it's also something that people can relate to, because I don't think no matter who you are, you've been through or you've tried or are doing things to hopefully better yourself from a fitness perspective. And that's one of the first things I will start off with here is taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, taking care of your health, your nutrition, how you look, how you feel. That is a huge factor in getting business with what you do. And I'm not saying, oh, if you're overweight, you're not going to get business, right? Or, oh, you don't look good, you're not going to get business, right? That's completely subjective. What I'm saying is, it's how you feel on the inside, right? Like, will people judge? Of course people will judge, right? But you can't determine, what people think of you in terms of, certain aspects of your body, etc. But what you can do is you can take care of yourself so you can feel the best when you present yourself. One of the other things I'll be saying today is talk about presentation skills and things like that. And part of what we do as a coach is we get our message out there. We've got to speak our message. We've got to articulate our message in the spoken form somehow using video like this, recorded or live face-to-face presentations and or webinars, etc. And that requires us getting in front of a camera or an audience of any size, whether it's one person or hopefully a lot more people at some point. And with that, if we don't feel confident with who we are, how we present ourselves, and that's both physically, our physical body, so that yes, it's our weight, it's who we are, right? And I'm not judging weight, etc., but this is how you feel about it. When you get in front of people, are you comfortable with yourself? If not, that's going to come across in how you present your information. It's how you dress yourself. Does that mean, oh, you don't have style or not? Well, no, I'm not going to judge that, right? That's up to you. And it doesn't mean, oh, I have to get a stylist and I have to get all these fancy clothes. It's like, no, you don't. Yet these are things I want you to start to pay attention to, how you present yourself, right? There's other pieces to it. So it's starting to think about some of those things. And if you're not liking where you're at, if you're not feeling confident in that, it doesn't mean like, oh, well, I can't do this until, right? I can't do this until I get a better wardrobe. I can't do this until I lose 20 pounds. That's not how this works, because the reality is if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not confident in yourself, you go out, you buy one outfit. I mean, you could buy something. It doesn't have to take long to do that. You can get yourself to the gym. You could start by eating a better, healthier meal, the next meal that you have, and start to feel like you're moving forward, and you can start to feel better about yourself instantly with some actions. You don't have to wait until a certain thing happens, right? You can start down that path. So those are just some things to think about and consider, mainly if it's because you don't feel confident about yourself and the way you present and the way you show up, right? Now, other things we can start to think about, and these are more skill set based. This is skill set based in terms of your ability to articulate and speak the spoken word of your message. A lot of us don't feel comfortable with that. And that's presenting and a lot of our presenting skills. But this is actually in the words itself and what we're saying and how we're saying it. Feeling comfortable as we say that, right? So there's different aspects to our presentation skills that we want to be able to work on, right? So one is actually the spoken word itself, right? What are we actually saying? And so you might not feel comfortable. I don't feel good. What am I saying? We've got to get good at that. We got to begin to master that and start to understand that, and also become comfortable with it and have some confidence behind what we're saying. Hopefully you feel when I speak and when I share with all these shows, and if you've watched or if you haven't seen many, go to sellingcoaching.com, like I said, in my university, watch some of my shows. Hopefully I've come across confident and believable in what I'm saying. And if not, well, I do, and hopefully it comes across that way because I've been doing this for a while, and I believe in it, and I've practiced it. The only reason I can come across in a confident way and believable is because I've practiced that. Sure, we can all have our moments, right? It doesn't mean we're going to speak perfectly every single word and have beautiful pauses after everything we say. However, that doesn't mean those little things that you learn like in a Toastmasters or some formalized speaker training, that doesn't all have to come across in order for you to become believable with your craft. There's a certain comfortability and authenticity that you have when you speak that allow people to connect with you, and you become more likable, if you will. And that just comes with practice. So a lot of it is setting yourself up with a structure on how to do this on a regular basis. And yeah, you know what? Your first videos you do, your first presentations, you're probably going to walk away from there being like, oh my God, what did I do? Or I didn't feel good with that, etc. And hopefully you'll get some good feedback, which will then start to reinforce it. Or maybe you get some feedback that's not as desirable and you're like, oh geez, my worst fears have come true. Or yeah, you know what, I could have done better. And people then confirm that. Well, it doesn't mean quit. It doesn't mean stop. I haven't always gotten rave reviews, but I've taken that feedback and I've gotten better with it. And I've worked on that craft, and I've been working on it now 17 plus years as a coach and a speaker like this. And then prior to that, a good 10 plus years in the fitness industry, where I was doing presentations and group fitness and one-on-one and group stuff. Like I had to get better at that stuff. And that takes time. It's not just going to happen overnight. But those are the things, like if you want to start really getting paid, you got to start getting better at how you present and how you present yourself, how you present your message, how you deliver that message. It's got to be very well thought out and conscious and articulate. And I'm not saying perfect. That's not even close to being perfect. It's just got to be you. It's got to come from you. And that's the key to that. And that's something that we've got to start to practice over time. So part of it's going to be ourselves and who we are, how we feel about ourselves and our physical body and the way to present our body in terms of the way we look, right? In taking some appropriate action and steps in that direction. And that can be a hard space for a lot of people. And then there's the actual, like, what's actually coming out in terms of the words, in terms of the delivery, in terms of the fluency of it, in terms of how it sounds and the confidence behind that. So that becomes a practice with that. And some of the other pieces are in terms of how we're writing our message, how it comes across in terms of our branding, in terms of our materials. And some of you that are starting this off, right, you may or may not have a website yet, etc. And I'm not saying our website and all of our materials, let's say online, need to be perfect and super high end in terms of, that we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on them. Yet what I do want to come across is I want you to come across in the best way possible. And in the beginning, like I recommend a lot of my students that I work with, I'm not going to say, well, listen, go out and spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on new equipment and websites and things like that. Like, start off with something basic. If you have to start off and do a little landing page for your website, that you do, that you spend time on yourself, and it's not the most perfect thing, and it didn't cost you any money right out of the gates versus spending, let's say, $3,000 on a website, because you might not have that right out of the gates, right? So that's an okay to start there. You're starting to do some videos, you're starting to do some presentations like that, and maybe your video isn't the best, or you don't have good lighting in your office yet, or things like that. Or you haven't quite worked that out yet. I wouldn't recommend waiting until you figure that all out, because what I found is by doing that is how you'll figure that out, right? So you'll start to improve as you go along. And I think that's the biggest thing that what I want to get across today is that wherever you're at now, pay attention to those things. So if you're doing a video, let's say, and your lighting is like this, and now it's a little bit grainier or whatever, right? And maybe the scene behind you, there's a closet and there's a door open and there's clothes over the thing. It's like, well, those are some simple things you can start to tune up a little bit. And maybe you're like, oh, my lighting isn't the best right now. Okay. But then we work on our lighting a little bit. And, is this the most perfect situation? No, it works. Is there another level? Is there another high end to this? Absolutely there is. This is where I'm at and what I do. And I try to also, when I do my stuff, I try and get to a level that's like not so unattainable, that's like, oh my God, it's just like this most perfect video that I can never do. Because sometimes we see those videos out there and some of the information from some superstars and gurus and things like that. And, you could tell it's like super professionally done and it costs money to do. And I'm not saying don't get to that level. What I'm saying is like work your way to that level. There's a certain level that you might want to get to where you stay at. Like I've stayed at a certain level with the quality of my presentation in terms of video quality, editing, and things like that. And it's for several reasons. It's for, number one, first and foremost, I want my clients to see something that's great quality, that works really well, that doesn't detract. Like you don't think like, oh, this is bad. You think, oh, this is good. But you also, if you compared it to, a high-end production, it's clearly not like there. But I also want them to show them that like that's all you get. That's all you need to get to. And you could do really well with that. If you want to take it to the next level, great. There's a lot of added costs to that. There's potentially added people that you got to bring in. So paying costs for production, for people, and all that good stuff, which you don't necessarily need to get to a very, very great level in your business. Right? So there's things that you want to get to, but you don't have to get there overnight. You're not going to be there overnight. And if you feel like you need to get there before you start, it's never going to happen. There's no way of getting there. There's no way of getting to a perfect spot before you even start in practice. So you get there and you a little bit and you're like, all right, this needs to get a little bit better. And so every little video you do, every little presentation you do, every little email you write, every time you do it, you get a little bit better. And the whole point is you're in this game long enough so that now 6 months in, 6 years in, guess what? You've gotten to different levels, and now you've moved on, and that's spanned across your whole business. And now a couple of years in, 3 years in, now your website's fantastic. Now whatever you're doing with video is fantastic. Now you've worked out the formats for your emails. Now you've bettered yourself a little bit. As you've started to earn more money, you've upgraded a few things. You've gotten a better outfit for your presentations. You've bought a better microphone. All those things as you go along. So I want you to start to become better at those things incrementally as you go along. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. This is a spot that a lot of people they think about, and honestly, I found that working with the coaches that I have, they'll start to think about it and they allow those things to hold them back. So while I want you to be conscious about it, and yes, I want you to be doing something about these things that I've talked about today, I also don't want you to allow those things to hold you back. I want you to recognize what they are and start to make slow and steady progress towards them. So either way, hopefully this has been helpful for you, and hopefully you've identified a few things that can work for you, and you can start making some steady progress on them as we embark on